What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and more SPQR coverage. We're moving right along with our faction review series here to see what's new in the new edition. And today we're going to focus in on Iberia. So maybe one of the lesser played factions, I guess, overall. Mainly just because model-wise, Warlord doesn't directly support them. And so you kind of have to piece together your kits from other manufacturers and stuff like that. So it might not be the one that most people will just immediately gravitate towards. Since Rome and Gaul kind of tend to get a lot of the spotlight from Warlord. So the hero here, as we've seen, has basically been getting discounts across the board. So another 5-point discount from before down to 40 as a base cost. And then basically equipment purchases have more or less increased with a few things changing here and there. So the buckler has gone up a point. From 1 to 2. The large shield has quadrupled in price from 2 to 8. Leather armor and helmets, kind of wish they would have put those together, but they're both 3 apiece because they do exactly the same thing, whereas before they kind of had them at different point values. Even though they did the same thing, it was kind of confusing. But yeah, basically, before it was like pay for the helmet and get a discount as opposed to paying for leather armor and paying more for leather armor and getting exactly the same benefit. So chainmail has gone up by 1 to 16. The short spear has actually stayed the same, and again, short spears are very useful now. Again, check our video on the weapons just to see some of the changes there. Daggers have stayed 2. Swords have come down a point, which is great. Again, parry doesn't exist anymore, so but swords still have a good place in the game. The bow is or has gone up a point. There used to be an option for a 2-handed sword, so that is completely gone, guys. So big change there. So no more 2-handed sword for your Iberian heroes. The horse, as we've seen with pretty much all heroes, has gotten a big discount down to 20 points from 30. And then you still have the option to purchase up to 3 javelins, but those have doubled in price to 4 apiece as opposed to 2 apiece. So again, just an overall good toolbox hero that basically every faction needs. Again, some changes here and there, but the base discount is nice, but again, more or less everything has increased in price. So, but you do have the options to really put together the kind of hero that you need, whether you want fast mobile hero, more of a tank, going the mounted option. You got some ranged options as well. So lots of neat possibilities there. So moving on, we get to our first sort of mainstay unit here, and that's the Scutati. These guys have gone to 17 denarii a piece, which is a big increase from the original 9. Again, as we've seen with basically every minion unit, melee dice have dropped to 1 per. So really only heroes and some very rare elite type units will have more than that. Agility still 1, bravery 1, everything else is the same. They do still come with a single javelin, a large shield, and a short spear. And then we still have the option to buy more javelins. Again, that has stayed the same. Now we can buy swords for free, so that seems like a good deal, and we don't have to swap for them. So really, there's no reason not to have the swords. So it should have just been like a base include. Not sure why we need to list that as an option. But before you had to pay 3 points for a sword. Now they're just free. So again, could have just been listed as the standard equipment. Then what else we got? Armor. So chainmail shirts have dropped 4 points to 8. Helmets are still, actually helmets have gone up a point to 3. There's no leather armor options here, but basically you go a little bit no armor, a little bit of armor, or like very tanky. But you do have different builds here that will work pretty well. The horn is still 10, and standards have come down pretty much all across the board. So rather than 25 apiece, they are now 5, but that's also because their range is halved. Again, check our videos on weapons, armor, and equipment to see the big changes there. Strength in numbers, we're going to skip javelins for a second just because we've seen strength in numbers so many times across the faction so far, but basically it's just as long as you hit large unit status, you get a +1 to bravery. There's no more like 10 or more or 20 or more to get an extra bonus on top of that. But yeah, just as long as you're a large unit, you'll have that bonus to your bravery. And then the flaming arrows, so let's see here if that is still the same. So let's see, may ignite bundles of grass tied to their javelins before throwing them as part of a normal shoot action. And then if the target is using phalanx or shield wall, it basically has to pass a bravery check after all other effects have been resolved. If they fail it, the enemy will lose the benefit of that for the rest of the turn, which is basically the same as it was before. So again, flaming javelins is cool. You do come stock with one javelin, but really to get the most benefit out of it, you'd want to go all in on javelins there. So, but that being said, these guys are much more expensive per model now. And so really spending that many more points on the extra javelins is pushing them into, 21 points without any kind of armor or other weapons upgrades. So that's a very expensive skirmisher at that point, guys. Certainly an option to consider, but I think really with this being kind of like your mainstay melee unit, you probably want to dip more into some sort of armor option or go like very heavily armored and have something that can weather a fight from a comparable unit from another faction. So, and we'll move on here in just a second. All right, guys, we continue on with our other infantry unit. That's the Scutati. These guys have also seen a almost doubling in points, going from 7 to 13 base. Still a really decent little combat unit, but these guys are a little bit more geared towards being your mobile, harassing, annoying kind of unit that is going to get the most benefit out, I think, out of the flaming javelins. So again, as we've seen, melee dice have all dropped to 1. Otherwise, stats are the same. They do still have a buckler, javelin, and sword, so it's a pretty good amount of kit. But again, here's really where you want to, I think, make the investment for the extra javelins to get the most out of flaming javelins. Their only armor option is our helmets for 3 apiece. Something to consider, I guess. But if you double or if you max out on the javelins, you're going to be at 17. Helmets will take you to 20 apiece, and again, at that point, it's a very expensive skirmisher. I feel like the armor option is probably just better to consider than for more bodies, basically. You do still have the horn option, but no standard here. Javelins, again, same as we saw before. These guys do have hit and run, though, which is pretty cool. But I think here, again, just it's all about the quantity. That having a 6 or a +1 to your armor, basically a 6 plus, or sorry, a 5 up save isn't going to necessarily, I think, make the difference in most cases, especially if you're paying 20 points a model here. But depending on the list and the size and potential opponents, that might be worth considering. Again, Iberians overall aren't going to be like the sort of super heavy armored faction, although they do have the ability to get there. It's just going to be pretty pricey. But hit and run, again, is great overall, and something worth considering. And then also strength in numbers. So again, somewhat like the more barbarian-like factions that we've seen. So they do kind of want to be a horde in most cases. So like Gauls, Brits, Germans. So we have all of that there. So a pretty potent little unit. Just needs to be used in the right way at the right time, of course. And then finally, the Horsemen. A really great cavalry option here. And seemingly their horse here is the movement 7 is carried over from before. I'm not sure if that is 100% intentional, but we're going to go with it for now, unless there's an FAQ released, although probably should be a 6. So I can't remember if that was fixed or FAQ'd in the previous edition, but regardless, seemingly hasn't changed. Melee dice, of course, have come down, but these guys start rocking bravery at +2 already, so no need for like the strength in numbers there. They just are bravery 2, and coming in at 24 points. So these guys have also these guys have actually seen a discount as opposed to a price increase. They were 29 apiece, now they're 24, and they were already good before because it's your only cavalry option outside of mercs. But here now, this is a very well costed unit, I think. Has a buckler, which we don't always see on Horseman, but also a small shield. So I feel like probably just use the small shield. A horse and a short spear. Short spears, again, fantastic now, and especially on a cavalry option. We do have the ability here to go with javelins for them, up to 2 of them. And, kind of curious here, would have been nice to see like a flaming javelin rule for these guys too, but that might push them a little bit over the top. But just like a super fast moving unit that could do that would be quite annoying. We do have some armor options for these guys. The helmets are 3 points apiece now, as opposed to 2. Again, horses no longer provide static armor, so that armor bonus is from the previous edition is gone. So definitely worth investing in some armor for your expensive unit. But again, they do all have 2 wounds still. But I think overall the best is probably the chainmail shirt. If you want to get to really like heavy, medium heavy cavalry status here. So only 8 points apiece now, as opposed to 12 from before. So really great discount. So before, if you wanted the chainmail, it was what, 41 points. Now we're at 32, so almost a 10-point drop overall still. And that's very reasonable for a pretty dang good cavalry option there. And hey, we get swords for free. Before we had to pay 3 points. Again, I feel like that should have just been included in the kit. Why would you not want that as an option? These guys, interestingly, can take barding as well, which is really going to make them tough to deal with. The barding is only 3 points, whereas before it was 8. So again, what would we say, 32 points, 35 points for chainmail and barding, which would seemingly only drop you to movement 6. Pretty damn awesome. And again, the horn and standard options there, we've talked about that. And interestingly here, if you do forego the chainmail or barding, then you actually get hit and run with these guys too, which again, so you have 2 different paths here. So at that point, I would say probably worth investing in the helmets and just, have a couple units that will do the hit and run thing for you guys. And then maybe like a main unit backed up with like a pretty beefy hero. So just go all in on armor and weapons and stuff, and then throw a nice combat hero in there, or someone that will keep them around in the fight a little bit longer. And this is a very scary unit indeed at that point. So that basically wraps up the minions for the Iberians. Again, it wasn't a very diverse list. Basically, you get your 3 different units, and we'll turn to the special character in just a second. All right, the mercenary list, guys, is the same. So Gaul and Iberia, and then they also have the option to take Balearic Slingers, which makes sense if you look at the geography there. And then our only hero for these guys, named hero, was Viriatus, and he has seen a gigantic points drop. Was 170 down to 109. Again, kind of my main complaint with the way the heroes have been pointed in this revised edition is that they're all these kind of like goofy numbers. Like, just make them 110, and it's very easy to remember. But nonetheless, stats have essentially stayed the same, and he's a level 6 hero, so he's definitely towards the upper end of levels that we typically see in heroes. And he's just got really great stats across the board. The +2 melee really would have been nice if that was +3, but he does have 3 dice, agility of +3, which is phenomenal, bravery +3, so really he's not going anywhere, and armor +3 because of the chainmail, and then 5 wounds, so a good old selection there. Although I feel like, again, here's a typo on their part. Chainmail, unless one of these talents, which I don't think it is foregoing the penalty on chainmail. He really should be movement 5, so I feel like that was I think wrong in the previous edition, and I don't think it's been fixed here. But if you put him on a horse, which you do have the option, 10 points cheaper than before, then chainmail is obviously not going to be a factor. But it does come with chainmail, large shield and sword. Let's see, back at you, inspire, light foot, now you see me, quick dodge, wall of iron, and again, I think sure-footed now is what well-planted was before. We'll get to that hopefully in another video when we look at all the talents. And then his special rule here, so let's see, I think he's another one that does the redeployment shenanigans. So let's see, I may redeploy any of its units up to 12 from their initial position, so long as they can be placed within or behind cover. So yeah, basically the same as before. And again, he's kind of the master of that, whereas everyone else, I think, is limited to a couple units. He can basically redeploy his whole army. So if you have a really good table setup and terrain setup that favors hit the Iberian list, especially with like a lot of line of sight blocking and stuff like that, you can really sort of pull a bait and switch kind of thing on the opponents, just move things to where they maybe will be now deployed unfavorably for you. But overall, again, really great hero. Not broken by any means, but now a little bit pricey before at 170 for what he did, but 109 now is a steal, and really considering it's your only hero of legend for the Iberians, definitely worth taking in games where that's going to be allowed. So good stuff there. So overall, some really nice changes for the Iberians. I think the real shining star is again going to be the cavalry, just because of all the discounts that they've gotten, and then the 2 infantry units, just with the typical, they're in line with all the other adjustments and stuff that we've seen across the board so far with infantry and the various factions so far. So again, I don't think they've lost a step by any means. It's just you got to really plan out what you want to do with them. Just because you have a couple different options there. But again, I think overall the cavalry shines here, so definitely not something you should neglect. And you could really build an all cavalry list with these guys and be pretty damn powerful. But the unique thing, or the sort of the shtick with this faction, is that flaming javelin ability. So definitely something that'll be helpful to help break shield walls, and I think it was phalanx as well. So something to maybe not neglect, just because chances are you're gonna have a Roman player in your meta, or possibly like Greeks. So one of the flavors of Greek are faction there. So something to certainly respect. But you have really good mercenary options here too. Gaul can certainly bring you that quantity, and Balearic Slingers are top of the line, of course, as far as missile troops. So overall, pretty good stuff, guys. But let us know in the comments what you think about these changes. All you Iberian players that are out there, I know you're out there, so let us know what you think. And if you've played against the Iberians, what changes do you think are good or bad, or what might scare you here with compared to what you dealt with before? So hit us up in the comments, guys. Leave a like and a subscribe as well. That helps the channel grow. We just topped 300 subscribers, so we're making progress to where we want to be there. And also, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, check out the link in the description. There's a link to Warlord there. Anything you guys pick up comes back and helps support the channel, and we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. So thanks so much again, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.